you today? Welcome back. The episode for today is a bit sad because this was the time that I left my grandparents' home. It was hard for me, but it happened. So be with me in this part of my life while living with my grandparents. If we recall in the first episode of Patricia, Your Name is Written in the Stars, I mentioned about how my grandmother disapproved my father and how she belittled him as her son in law. My father took me away from my grandparents' home several times because they always argued over me and how I wished and planned to run away or leave my grandparents' home someday. Now it happened. My male cousin from Davao came over. He was turned over by his parents to our grandparents, hoping that this male cousin would do good in school here in Bohol. So my cousin and I became classmates in grade 6. I was glad that I had a playmate. He got many skills. He could make and repair things like doors, chairs, and he could form any shapes or objects beautifully using clay. That's how skilled he was. The figurines that he made looked so perfect. He can cook well too. He was very resourceful, and he was the one who gave the idea to teenagers in our barangay that frogs can be cooked into a delicious meal. When people heard about it, they were very angry. They said this boy from Davao is crazy and weird. So the thought of eating frogs made them felt like vomiting. People said, yuck! That was the first time in the history of that barangay named Simang where young boys chased frogs in the rice fields at night, and it caused a big problem to rice farmers because more insects started attacking the rice plants and farmers complained about the rice plants being devastated by these boys chasing frogs at night. The neighbors complained also of swarm of flies and bad smell of frog's skin that they throw anywhere. No one can ever forget my cousin Julius, who introduced to the innocent people in my barangay Simang that frogs can be eaten. Yucky. So a year after that, another female cousin, Julius' sister, arrived from Davao. My older sister started to get annoyed because this female cousin dug her wardrobe and wore some of my older sister's clothes. My grandmother tolerated this cousin and she told my older sister, "You lived with me every day. We see each other every day. I seldom see your cousin from Mindanao." This female cousin got jealous of my older sister, for she could not believe that my older sister had a lot of nice clothes and stuff. But when my grandmother sent our cousin to college in Tagbilaran City, and she did not say anything about sending my older sister to college, my sister was furious. I saw her crying and she planned to run away. Finally, when I started my sophomore year, I decided to go back home since, anyway, my grandparents had two other grandchildren to live with them. Besides, my female cousin and my older sister were not in good terms. It broke my heart to leave my old grandparents just like that. My older sister lived with us in our small house for a few days before she eloped with a guy in the neighborhood. In my opinion, I think my older sister would not survive living in our small house because our family was poor and she got used to sleep in a nice bed and eat delicious foods at my grandparents' house. I doubt if she could survive living with us even for a month. In my case, I didn't care if I stay in our poor home momentarily, for I had the vision to live in another place someday anyway. So my cousins from Mindanao were the ones who lived with my grandparents when I and my sister left. But when I went to college in Cebu City, I heard that my cousins went back to Davao and a caretaker lived with my grandparents. It hurt me so much when I heard this news, but I could not do anything. I had to go to college and I was very far away from them. So that's the reason why I left my grandparents' home. I hope you had a great time listening to my story. Thank you very much for listening and please subscribe. Thank you so much.